In this video, I will show you how to build strong, shapely, and well-rounded glutes, regardless if you care about strength, aesthetics, and why you should care about that asset in the first place. My name is Katya, I'm the vegan powerlifter, and I know a thing or two about building a beautiful ass because I've competed in bodybuilding, champion bodybuilder. I don't even know how many awards in powerlifting I have. I'm the third strongest vegan in the world, and even now, 3 months postpartum, my ass still looks pretty decent, even though I just started hitting some good weights in the gym finally. So I will tell you all my secrets. I will share all my knowledge about building glutes from the bodybuilding perspective, building glutes from the strength perspective, from the performance perspective in powerlifting, and things that I've learned along the way from other friends, athletes. So let's do this. First, why glutes matter? Well, let's start with what glutes actually do. If you imagine a straw that has a bendy part, why does it have that bendy part? Well, it has it so that it can bend without breaking. And that is what glutes essentially do. When humans got down from the trees and we start walking upright, we needed a muscle to hold us upright without falling forward. And those are your glutes. Your glutes hold you upright so you can run, walk, stand, and do this relatively easily. So even though evolutionarily, like dogs and cats and horses, they don't really have glutes. Well, they do, but they're so tiny you can barely see them. People look at a horse and they're like, wow, such strong glutes. Well, those are not glutes. Those are actually the hamstring muscle. If you look at a dog and a cat, their glute is like a super tiny size of a plum, maybe a peach, depending on the size of your dog. They're barely noticeable, and they're just there for hip stability. They don't walk upright. They don't need them. Humans are a different story. But even though we have developed glutes when we got down from the trees, you might be thinking, oh, great, we're walking and running now. That's how we've developed glutes. So how about I do more of those things and that will let me grow my butt, make it stronger? Not so fast. If we do not train glutes in a stretched position, in isolation, and if we don't clench our butts, it doesn't really grow more. So let's get a little bit deeper into those things that allow our glutes to be much, much bigger and much, much stronger than walking will never, ever get you. So let's look at the picture of your butt to see the three main muscles your butt consists out of. Gluteus maximus, or the muscle that is mainly responsible for the extension of the hip. It drives power and size for your hips, so you can train it with squats, deadlifts, hip thrusts, RDLs. Then there's glute medius that stabilizes the pelvis and shapes the sides of your hips. And you can train it with lunges, lateral lunges, cable abductions, and side step-ups. Glute minimus is not noticeable at all because it is way deep down there close to your hip bones, and it assists the glute medius. It adds definition up top, though, if you train it, so you can train it using clamshells, sideline raises, and abductions. So, what are the exercises that you need to do to get a bigger butt? The foundation of your glute training should be the big movements that load the hip in the stretched position. So those are your barbell back squats, full amplitude. If you half squat, don't stretch the glutes to the full, then load them. You're half-assing it, quite literally. Why do that? Stretch your glutes, and then once you have the range of motion, load the glutes, do your ass to grass squats. Your glutes will be the biggest that they possibly can from just that one exercise. Lunges, especially deficit lunges, not walking lunges, but lunges that are in a stable position, in-place lunges, lunges on a Smith machine, lunges with a barbell. So the least wobbling you can do and the more weight you can load, the better. And if you want to elevate the front foot, put it on a block, put it on a step. The more you stretch the glute, the more they will grow. Bulgarian split squats and also deep leg presses with your feet up top on the platform. You can feel your glutes stretching when you do the leg presses with the feet up rather than the feet down. So depending on what you train, you can use different positions on a leg press to your benefit. So those are your main builders. They load the glutes when they're fully stretched or close to full stretching. And a pro tip is to keep the tension and not bounce. So a lot of people, powerlifters, looking at y'all, I know you want to do the movement with the most efficiency, unlike bodybuilders who want to get the most fatigue at all costs and the most tension. so that the muscle grows the most. You grow the glutes by using both approaches. Powerlifters grow bigger glutes because you can squat more weight when you do the exercise the most efficient technique possible, the fastest way possible. Bodybuilding way to squat would be to have less on the bar, but to go further down and to clench your butt at the top, for example, maybe go slower, do some tempo squats, but to make sure the glutes are activated and firing throughout the whole time. I can do a powerlifting squat with some knee sleeves, bounce it at the bottom, and get up relatively quickly. Not so great for the glutes, but it does have the purpose of squatting super duper heavy, so then I can use that strength to do more bodybuilding style tempo or slower or tension focused squats with more weight than I was able beforehand. So the pro tip here would be to not chase the weight and cut the range of motion. Range of motion is absolute key. It is the foundation of the foundation. Your number 2 types of exercises that will grow your glutes the best are the hinge pattern exercises. So those are your good mornings, hip thrusts, RDLs, kettlebell swings, etc. You want to make sure to do them without overloading other muscles. So for example, if you're bending over to do a good morning and firing lower back, quads, and other things, bending the knees, kind of doing a half squat, not so good for the glutes. You want to isolate them. And if you don't know how to isolate your glutes, you can try doing some activation exercises. I do think activation exercises are overrated, but I've also met people who just don't know how to clench their butt. Like they're sitting or they're standing. Like right now I'm sitting on a chair. I can clench my butt. It's harder than if I was standing. But I've met people who kind of don't know how to do that. Your glute isolation exercises basically are focused on a hinge pattern and making sure your glutes are firing more than other muscles. Okay. So the combination of the hinge exercise after the loaded stretch exercise that we talked about first offers that full spectrum development of your glute maximus. Very good combination. For example, heavy squats all the way to the ground plus RDLs after is a very typical thing that you see in a bodybuilding program. And you can do some clamshells or some hip thrusts in the end, like 3 sets of 20, burnout. Boom, you're done. You're out. Your ass is completely burnt out. Great job. Number 3 is back extensions and reverse extensions, or GHRs, reverse hypers. So back extensions are essential in not just training your lower back, even though they do make it stronger. You can also do glute focused. You can kind of sort of relax your back or round it a little bit, stretching and tensing your glutes. Yes, your hamstrings will also fire. That's fine. There are no good-looking glutes without good-looking hamstrings. We also want that. And your glutes will be stronger if your hamstrings are stronger as well. So do your back extensions. You can do them with the weight. You can put the barbell on your back like Olympic lifters do. You can hold a plate by your chest. There's numerous ways to do that. And I honestly see that glute-focused back-rounded back extensions are just as useful as the back extensions with the straight back. For example, my coach normally does them with a straight back. He would rather make them heavier and make them harder, but he will never round. And he has, I don't know, the most peachy looking glutes that I've ever seen on a power lifter. Go figure. The difference with the reverse extension is that it offers a dynamic stimulus and it also stretches your back. So that is a safe exercise to do if you have any back injuries. For example, I have hernias. The majority of the lifters that I know also have back hernias. Well, the majority of the non-lifters usually also have back hernias, except they don't check it and they don't know it until they're really old and that it hurts and that it's too late to fix. Well, if they were lifting, they would have probably checked and they knew that that was a problem. And they would have gotten their back stronger. Their hernia would not hurt when they were older in the first place. So anyways, the majority of the people have back hernias. So I just think it's a great exercise all around. If you can get your hands on a reverse hyper, use it. It is one of the best machines to grow your back erector muscles. So the 2 long muscles that hug your spine. So the body does not put the loading on the skeletal system, but uses the muscle instead. Very, very useful, very, very safe. You want to use normal hypers and reverse hypers in your workouts. They will also help your butt be bigger and stronger because they offer the butt clenching experience once it is hard. Usually when you get up from a squat or you get up from a deadlift, it's quite easy to lock out. Once you're past that midpoint, you're close to the top, you can finish getting up, right? Well, with these two, clenching is the hardest part. The easiest part is at the bottom when the glutes are stretched. So that is a different, like the opposite stimulus of what the lunges and the deadlifts and the squats offer. So what I would do is I would warm up with a back extension, like 3 sets of 10, to really pump your lower back with blood and to warm up your glutes or activate your glutes if you wish. And you can finish with 2 sets of 15 reverse hypers, load it up if you feel like it, or if you don't, just use that stimulus to really clench your butt at the top where it's the hardest to hold the weight of the hyper. The things that powerlifters normally skip that the bodybuilders do way too much of. You probably have seen the programs that consist purely of those exercises. There will be your donkey kicks, your side lateral raises, your cable kickbacks, and all kinds of activation bullshit that people do, girls normally, like skinny girls who are like, I just want to diet down and see my abs, but not the cubes, just the flat lines. Just have the flat belly with 2 lines and have a huge butt. So I'm going to do 3 sets of 20 of each of those exercises, and she'd be doing hydrants, clamshells, kickbacks, all kinds of steps with the band over her hips, or even get on a Stairmaster machine with a band over her hips. There's a million types of those exercises. I would say they're pretty useless alone if you do not have a solid, squat, deadlift, hip thrust foundation. Those exercises are a great, magnificent cherry on top. They build your supporting muscles in the glutes. They definitely work the glute minimus and the medius and make you a well-rounded lifter who is a lot less likely to get injured. But alone, they're for sure not enough. Trust me. So if you want to build size, focus on the foundation first, and then each workout, pick 1 or 2 and do, a couple sets for burnout. You will be good. You can also pick 1 or 2 and do them as activation. Or if for example, your glute medius sucks at firing, single-legged step-ups, and you can pop your hip and drop your hip, pop it and drop it, and make sure your glute medius fires. Pump it with blood, and then proceed to your deadlifts to squats. But you don't want to do it too heavy in the first place if they're at the beginning of your workout. Just do them for activation purposes, and then proceed to do your main lift, and then potentially have another accessory to finish off for burnout in the end. That way, you will hit the big muscles, warm up the small muscles that suck at firing for you specifically, and then make sure to cover the small muscles that suck at growing once you already have the growth stimulus from firing all the big muscles. But you're not really worried to do the exercise wrong per se, because it's just such an easy finisher all the way to failure. Also, let's not forget that compounds build a very strong core, and it is very difficult to do isolation glute movements if you do not know how to brace and separate the bracing from whatever other things that you do during, for example, your donkey kicks, your cable kickbacks, your hinges, good mornings. You want to brace your core and make sure that's not moving. Make sure your back is not bending anywhere, and you're only bending in the glutes. That way, your hip stuff that grows your glute maximus will be done to the most efficiency, versus if your core is weak and you never do compounds, then it's kind of hard to maximize any hinging pattern and realize, oh, I'm actually doing it with my ass rather than doing everything else. So let's put all of the advice above together. Use compounds to build strong glutes. Stronger glutes means bigger glutes, And bigger glutes means more kilos on the bar, which means stronger compounds. Sprinkle some isolation stuff and some accessories around that. Boom, you have the perfect recipe for the most shapely, tight, and beautiful big butt that you could ever dream of. The bonus tip of this video is to not skip legs. I know a lot of girls who are like, I just want to build my glutes and I don't want to grow my legs. You can find videos on the internet with girls researching how to only target glutes and leave the legs alone, as if having bigger legs is in some way aesthetically unpleasing. Like, I've had clients who'd come to me and they want to diet down. Out of their entire body, they would only want to train glutes and abs to make sure they have those lines on their belly when they diet down. So it has a little bit of a shape, but not too much of a shape. God forbid, the cubes, oh no. And they would show me pics of their favorite bikini chicks, wellness chicks, who train everything. Like, they train legs like their life depends on it. Well, because their awards depend on it. Bikini is judged from the rear, and it's not just the glutes that are a part of it. It is the glute hamstring tie-in. It is your back. It is everything else. They train legs, trust me. The wellness chicks, they train legs. The physique and bodybuilders, everybody trains legs, even though I've had many a client who come to me and they want to take the legs out of the equation. Ladies, do not take the legs out of the equation. Strong legs means strong glutes. They add to the strength of the muscle that is next to one another. And the strong back also means the strong glutes. You want to train everything. And if you don't want to be too big, then diet down and be leaner. Training anything naturally will never get you too big. Trust me. Strong hamstrings and quads, they only make your glutes pop. And you can put more kilos on the bar, grow glutes to be bigger. Very difficult to grow glutes with weak legs. Plus, that means you can resort to only isolation movements, and we've talked about how accessories and isolation movements alone are not enough to build that shelf butt that we're all looking for. The last thing that you should worry about is stretching. The muscles are strongest in their slightly stretched position. Plus, if you cut the range of motion, you cannot train the muscle to the fullest. Remember, in order to grow them the most, you want to load them the most in their most stretched position. Well, if your stretching is compromised, you cannot get to that full amplitude that you would have otherwise. And if we take the beauty and the aesthetics and the strength aspect out of it and focus on the injury aspect, if your glutes are tight, that means your lower back and your knees are taking over where they shouldn't. That means versus having just a tight core and using your glutes to squat down, you lift your heels, more loading goes into your knees and your back rounds. Not great. Your back shouldn't round unnecessarily when you're doing smaller, lighter movements. And oh my God, if you have too much of a butt wink, I have a separate butt wink video, but if it's too much, yes, you can have a hernia from it. Yes, you can have complications and pain from it. So if you want to keep your lower back safe, go watch the butt wink video. There's people who are like, I don't want to stretch my glutes. I'm going to be just fine. No, you want to stretch your glutes to make sure you can have a deeper squat and a stronger squat, and then bounce it in your knees unnecessarily. Yes, you can bounce it in your knees slightly when you are a powerlifter and it's close to your 1 rep max, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about doing normal squats with your, 75 to 95% loading from the 1 rep max, working sets, or for the bodybuilding folks that want to build the most beautiful glute and ham tie-in, but they can't because their ass is too tight. If you're an office worker, or if you are a creator, or whatever you do, you probably work behind your desk. You probably sit in long bouts, and your ass is probably too tight. Just stretch it. Just get up, set an alarm twice a day, get up from your desk, stretch your thoracic spine, and stretch your glutes. Thank me later. To summarize everything, whether you want a stronger butt or a bigger butt, or just a healthier body, you want to train your ass. Your ass is the foundation of your back. Your spine stands on it like a house. If you have a shitty foundation, your house will be unstable and your core will engage, like I said before, unnecessarily. Where it should just be tight, it will be flexing all around. Let's not get there. Let's train our butts, regardless if you're guy, girl, old, young, unicorn. I don't care. If you're overwhelmed from all of the advice that I've given in this video and need help putting together a program for a stronger, shapelier butt, I am happy to help you. There is a link to the free consultation with me in the description, so you can book it. We will chat for half an hour and outline the strategy to get to your goals with a minimum effort. If you choose not to sign up for coaching after, then you've just picked my brain for half an hour for free. Enjoy. And if you do decide to sign up, I would be very happy to help you get to your goals in the most straightforward and efficient way, regardless what your goals are. Getting a strong butt, stepping on a powerlifting platform, or just enjoying a healthy and beautiful body that you have built with your dedication and effort. A strong and healthy body is something you cannot inherit. It is something that you cannot buy. You must work at it. So I feel like strong, beautiful glutes are not just the aesthetical and shallow asset. It is a great thing to have. Everybody sees the results of your work, and it's not just good for selfies in the mirror. It is an essential thing, and people will respect you if you're a chick with a beautiful butt, regardless where you are and what you do. If you have a strong and beautiful butt, people will notice. I don't care if they say anything, but yeah, they will notice. It's like if you have beautiful shoulders and capped delts, or if you have a huge ass squat because you've trained your glutes and they're very well rounded. Again, everybody turns their head. It's a privilege and it's a status symbol to have a strong and healthy and relatively lean body. Don't think that it's a shallow goal to chase for a beautiful shelf butt. And definitely don't think that that is only possible with plastic surgery if you have inferior genetics in terms of glutes. You can definitely build one. It might require you more effort than Mary or Anne, but you can definitely get there. Or what I like to say is, God has given small boobs only for the woman that he is sure can build a beautiful and strong butt. This was Katya, the vegan powerlifter, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe and share it with your girlfriends who want to build that beautiful shelf.